What dining trends are hot and which ones are not? That's another question food and restaurant writers get asked all the time. And the dawn of the new year is the perfect time to discuss both. What's coming, what's going, what needs to go. Hello, this is Arch Eats, and I'm George Mahey.
I'm Cheryl Bear.
And trends is the subject of today's episode.
This episode of Arch Eats is sponsored by the St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum.
But before we get to that, as we always do, it's what I can't stop thinking about this week.
Yes, George, I have one that has been near and dear to my heart for a while, but in a different location. There was a Korean restaurant that was around, about 4 years or so, called Chicken 7, deep South City. And they opened a second restaurant called Cafe Ganadara.
And before you go any further, do you know where that name came from?
I do. It is Korean for ABCD. It's how you say the ABCs in Korean.
Ganadara.
Exactly.
I thought I had
Yes.
one on you. Guess not.
It's one of maybe the few Korean words I know because it is one of my favorite foods. And Korean fried chicken is one of my favorite Korean dishes. Well, Chicken 7 was notorious for having the best Korean fried chicken in town. Well, Chicken 7 is no longer. They have put all of their efforts into Cafe Ganadara. And I was really sad about this because I thought if Chicken 7 was gone, that meant their signature Korean fried chicken was gone because that was not a centerpiece of the new restaurant. Well, it is there. It is there in chicken wing form. And I went the other day. I had the most outstanding Korean fried chicken wings. Back at the old place, they used to do all sorts of different cuts of the chicken. Here, it's the flats and the drummies. They are plump. They are juicy. They are impossibly crispy. I like to get them coated in the soy garlic sauce, but you can get them in a couple other different sauces. There's like a spicy garlic. There's a honey butter. It's outstanding. I cannot recommend this place enough.
They started, if you remember, with different types of toast. That menu kind of was transformed over the first couple months. They had something called croffles, which is a cross between a croissant and a waffle, which I think they still have for dessert. And all these different items that you were talking about, these chicken items, were lunch specials. And all of a sudden, these lunch specials became the menu.
Yes.
There's something called donkatsu. That's a pork cutlet. Pounded thin, right?
So tasty.
And they put in a Korean brown sauce. I think they call it gravy. That's a great item. They do a japchae bop.
So yummy. Yes.
And that's just fun to say. But what it is, it's glass noodles that are made from sweet potatoes. Lots of good items there. Don't forget about the chicken, though, which is kind of how they got started.
It is how they got started, and it's just legendary. If you're looking for some of the best fried chicken, period, in town, this is where to go.
Do they still have the Rice Krispie chicken?
They do. Yes, they do. Now, those are more boneless kind of nuggets. The chicken wings are more that traditional Korean fried chicken, super crispy, bone on. The Rice Krispies, that's more of like I would call a popcorn chicken, little pieces of thigh. So juicy,
I want
tender.
some of that right now. That sounds
wonderful.
really, really good.
Wonderful.
And for dessert, another one of their desserts, they have bingsu, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, the Korean shaved ice milk dessert that's so popular. This is a teeny little place on Southampton. It's hiding there in plain sight, right?
Yes, and they're the kindest, most lovely people. So please go and patronize this place.
The place I can't stop thinking about is Scarlett's Wine Bar, which it's not like it's hiding in plain sight. It's been there in the Central West End for 8.5 years. It was owned by the Sasha's Wine Bar folks. It's now owned by a guy named Jean-Christophe Costa. Just call him JC if you don't want to go with the French version.
He's formerly of Achero, correct?
He's the longtime GM of Achero, and he has incorporated a lot of French bistro items onto the Scarlett's Wine Bar menu, and it's really good. We talked about them before. They have foie gras. Of course they do. They have a lobster salad with lemon and dill.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
I love lobster salad. There's another salad that was delicious, goat cheese When they fry those little goat cheese pucks.
They get so gooey, that molten goat cheese fritter. Oh, it doesn't get
so
better.
Good. And there's big hunks of prosciutto and strawberries with this honey balsamic vinaigrette. And their claim to fame there is their wood-fired pizzas. Not terribly French, but that's really what they do and have done. So you can't forget about that. There's a tenderloin with a pepper sauce. There's a duck confit. There's raclette, which is, I guess, kind of Swiss French. But really, really good French items. I was looking forward to trying the frog legs because you don't see them anywhere.
Never. No.
You just don't see them.
So classic, and you never see it.
No, they took them off the menu.
Oh, shoot.
Why? Nobody ordered them.
Exactly. Everyone wants to see them on the menu, but no one orders them.
That's why you don't see them, because nobody orders them. The other item that I really enjoyed, just because of the name, Creole shrimp beignets.
Ooh.
And I thought, man, that's all I needed to know and all I needed to hear. Well, it comes out, and they're not beignets at all. It's more like a tempura shrimp puff, kind of the shape of a beignet.
Oh, wow.
But that's all the word. It was tempura shrimp, which was absolutely fine and delicious. But if you see that item, don't be expecting a beignet, because it's not. It's really good, though.
Wow, that sounds excellent.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
Experience the covert mission of real-life spy and artist Peter Malkin in St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum special exhibit, The Artist Who Captured Eichmann. Malkin, who helped capture Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann, documented his mission by sketching on the pages of a South American travel guide. See his works in this powerful exhibition that blends history and art, on display through June 1st, 2025. Get tickets at stlholocaustmuseum.org. And now, back to the show.
Today, we're not here to talk about Creole shrimp beignets.
Although I'd be
like
happy if that was a trend. I could take more of those in my life.
It should be a trend because, man, they were good. I love to talk about trends, especially the ones to die. We've got trends to stay. We've got trends to go.
Yes.
Go ahead and start us off. We're just going to kind of intersperse them a little bit. We don't want to start off with all the great ones and then end with 10 Debbie Downer trends that we just hope will go away. We're going to sprinkle them in.
The fun is in reading the tea leaves for the year ahead. And one thing that I'm noticing that I see as being a big thing in 2025 is elevated soul food. This is something that really struck me learning about two restaurants in particular. They're both very different, but both of them seem to really embrace this kind of reimagining of soul food. The first one is Lucy Quinn and Little Lucy. Those are sister concepts under the same roof.
Right.
We've talked about them before. They're being opened by Chef Ben Welch, who people know him from Big Baby Q and Botanica and other places around town, but he's finally opening up this place that is elevating the food that he grew up cooking and that's been part of his family's history. So it's named after his maternal grandmother, Lucy Quinn. She was a renowned cook, but he always likes to talk about the sass that she brought to everything. And he's really excited to present this food that's been such a part of his story in this elegant, elevated way. The other person who is, I think, really representative of this is Ty Davis. Ty Davis is, again, someone we've talked about. He is such a talented rising star of a chef here in St. Louis. He is going to be opening a restaurant called Lineage. Now, we don't have an exact opening date on this. This was on one of our most anticipated of the year, as was Ben's. He's going to present it in a tasting menu format. Think of elegant dining, but these soul food classics that he really wants to present in a different light. I'm just excited for this. Another trend that I see, and I've seen it a couple places here, mostly from the same chef, but that's Peruvian food. Peruvian food really seems to be having a moment. I see that being big in 2025. The places that I'm thinking about are Brasas in particular, which has the Peruvian roasted chicken. This is Andrew Cisneros' place. That is his second restaurant after his other Peruvian, more seafood-focused place in St. Charles called Halea.
Right.
I think it's such an exciting food. When I read national publications, I'm seeing a lot of Peruvian food. So even I think if we don't see a lot of Peruvian restaurants here in St. Louis opening, I think we're going to see Peruvian dishes interspersed on restaurant menus, and I'm here for it.
The pollo alla brasa, which is
Yes.
his signature item there at Brasas. And it should be all over town because it's really good.
Oh,
It's basically a rotisserie chicken with these special Peruvian peppers and marinade, and then it's finished over really hot charcoal to give the skin a nice crispy crunch. But this restaurant's basically based around this item, and that's all they need, that and a few sides. Teeny little place in the U-City Loop. It's about 12 feet wide. A lot of people take it to go. It's a really fun place, and that is just an excellent, excellent item.
yes, I'll tell you, when you imagine what you want roasted chicken to taste like, this is pretty much the ideal of that. I'm so excited for that. Bring on more Peruvian roasted chicken in our lives this year, please. Now, I do have something that I wish would go away. Perhaps it's not a trend. Perhaps this is a way of dining now. Some people say that I'm in the minority of this opinion, but I am so done with QR codes. I do not
You're not
want
alone.
to dine with a QR code anymore. I don't want to scan. I don't want to have myself and every single person at my party glued to their phones rather than interacting with one another. And these are at even sit down places. I understand if I'm going up to a window at a counter and I'm just scanning a menu that way. Okay, fine. But when I sit down at a table to enjoy a meal, I want a menu. I feel like it's one of those lingering things from the pandemic that we just can't shake. And I want to shake it so badly.
And I think our colleague Dave Lowry summed it up quite succinctly when he said, how can something the size of a postage stamp totally destroy one of the best parts of dining out, which is sitting back in your chair and absorbing the menu?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm a little old-fashioned in that way, but I'm fine with being old-fashioned. I want a proper menu.
I think QR codes definitely have their place, like you said, in these more casual establishments, but you don't want to do that in a fine dining situation or anything approaching it. I totally agree with you there.
So what do you have? What are you looking forward to? What are you ready to say goodbye to?
Here's what I'm seeing. The first thing that I'm most excited about, I'm calling it value and vibe, a place that has both.
I like that.
And you get a lot of places that are really cool and just super expensive.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, great. But please, I can only come here once a year. One of those places is No Ordinary Rabbit, which recently opened in Botanical Heights. Steve Gontram is behind it, a pretty familiar name around town. 5-Star Burgers, Harvest. He's a very well-known, well-renowned guy. His partner is David Zitko, whose claim to fame is bartending. Anyway, they've got really great food, Mediterranean leaning, priced in the teens and 20s, low 20s. It's not going to break the bank. The cocktails are excellent. It feels good in there. It's not real big. It's going to be one of the, I think, most talked about restaurants in 2025. They've got value and vibe. Ivy, which we've talked about before,
I love Ivy.
in Clayton. They've got entrees in the teens there, and it's kind of got this wine bar vibe. It started off as a coffee bar, coffee and breakfast.
Tartines,
and tartines, and it's now doing lunches and dinners. It's got a great vibe to it as well. Scarlett's, which I was just talking about, the crab cakes are $18 instead of $28. Those shrimp beignets were like $12 instead of, it could have been twice that much. That's important to be able to instill value in your restaurant in 2025. Let's face it, we all love to go out, but we can't afford to do it as much anymore. So I think that's something that I certainly am looking forward to. Basso is another place that's been around for a bit. And we can probably say this, there is going to be another Basso out in Westport Plaza. Did you even know that? I don't think I sprung that on you.
That's exciting, though.
They are going to do Basso 2 out in Westport. And the idea was, this place has really come on in the last couple years. It's been around for quite a while. And all of a sudden, it's become popular. And the LHM guys said, hey, if Basso's working, if Basso's the thing, let's do it again. And they're basically going to recreate this same restaurant out in Westport Plaza.
Oh, that's so great. And why is Basso popular right now? Probably because of what you were saying. People want to have these nice dining experiences. They don't necessarily want the stakes to be so high that this is their special occasion dining, but they want a place that they can go on a Thursday night. And these are important places and important parts of the dining scene.
Or a place at happy hour where they can get half-price drinks and half-price entrees or appetizers. That's just the way it needs to be. And I think to get the butts in the seats in 2025, that's what you have to do.
I would agree with that.
Another way to kind of maximize things, if you're a restaurant person, I think we're going to see more of this, is places that are maximizing their space.
Yeah.
A place like Chibo, which is opening up. This is Mike Del Pietro's new restaurant. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think you're going to see more of that. The rent's the same no matter what hours you're open. So he's going to have a breakfast menu, a different lunch menu, and a different dinner menu. 3 completely different menus for the different day parts. And I think that's important to maximize your space. We talked about Noto and Bormio out in St. Peter's. Basically 2 restaurants under one roof. There's Good Company and Opry. Pretty much 2 restaurants under the same roof. The places we've talked about that have added speakeasies. Again, another way to maximize revenue, to get that high rent paid. I think you're going to see more of that. And I think it's great. Different experiences. If one's busy, you can go to the other one. I think it gives everybody more options. There's synergy there. Those places feed one another. The thing I hope doesn't catch on that I've been reading is going to catch on across the country is dynamic pricing.
Oh, yeah, that's controversial.
And it's scary. The same items costing different amounts at different times or different nights.
It's like, what is this, an Uber or a Lyft,
No, it's the same
like
theory.
Surge pricing.
It's surge pricing. And yeah, your steak is going to cost more on a Saturday night at 7:30 than it will on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That's wrong in so many ways. Probably shouldn't mention. I don't want to put the hex on us.
Right.
So I hope dynamic pricing never comes.
Oh, I hope not. Well, one thing that I am excited to see, and I think we are going to see more of it, we have a lot of stuff on the horizon with this. This is cannabis dinners and cannabis drinks. The sky is the limit with this here. We are seeing serious chefs getting in on this. Suede Cannabis has a dinner series called Best Buds. And
great name.
It's a great name. And great chefs and great mixologists are associated with this. Tim Wiggins of Lazy Tiger is involved in an upcoming one. Alex Henry of El Molino del Sureste, he's involved. Logan Ely of Press, formerly Lucky Accomplice. Nick Bognar's done one before. These are serious culinarians who are embracing cannabis cuisine. I'm really excited to see this. There's a new cannabis dinner lounge opening up in the Loop.
Yes, Euphoria.
Called Euphoria. Now, the thing is, it's not like a restaurant where you can pop in. Legally speaking, they have to call it a dining club. So you technically have to buy a membership, although you can get a membership for the night to attend one of their dinners. But I think we're going to see that. There's another cannabis dinner club called The Table that has been really active. It was active last year. There's an events company called STL Pot Chef. That's fun. I know. They did something called a Munchie Market where it was almost like a little food court of cannabis-infused cuisine. And then I actually talked to Kendall of Noto, who says that they haven't done it yet, but she's not ruling out putting cannabis and CBD-infused cocktails on their menu. They've had a lot of people who want some sort of enhanced experience, but maybe they're not looking for alcohol. And she's open to it, and I think we'll see a lot of bars that are open to this.
And I think some of these dinners, they've positioned them in, quote, dry January as an alternative. And the one thing about this that has kept me away is all the cannabis-infused items and sauces that I've tasted still taste like cannabis.
A little bit, yes.
And it's really hard to lose that cannabis taste and to hide it and disguise it. But this Suede company that you were talking about has come out with this product. This is what's so exciting about it to me, called Stirrables.
Yes.
And it's a water-soluble, tasteless powder that has THC in it. You can sprinkle it on your mac and cheese. You can put it in your coffee. You can do anything you want to it. Put it in your cocktail.
I have it in my water right now. Just kidding. I don't.
But anyway, I think that will be a game changer for a lot of these places because you will be able to get the benefits without having that taste that's kind of hiding in the background.
Exactly.
It's so predominant for me that it's a turnoff. Now it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
According to the Suede folks.
Exactly. It just opens up so many doors. You can make a mocktail with something like that. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing where people go with that. One thing that I am over, and I am ready for it to go away. We can bury this in 2024, hopefully with the rest of social media. This is sandwiches in particular, but really any food that is designed just for Instagram. Think of sandwiches that are piled so high. Our food critic, Dave Lowry, said when you need an FAA warning beacon on top of your burger,
you've gone too far.
You've gone too far. And I think people want to eat food. They don't just want to take pictures of it. I understand you eat with your eyes. I understand that people want to share their experiences, but there is a balance here. It has to be consumable.
I think a sandwich should be consumable with 2 hands, not 6.
Exactly. You don't need to be an octopus to eat a sandwich. And I want to see us tone it down a little. You can make your food beautiful, but not comical. And I think that's balance is we've lost that. And I'm looking forward to just, can we just make things to eat?
And focus on the quality, not the looks.
Exactly.
And everything in the kitchen doesn't have to go on that sandwich. And that's what they're doing.
Just keep piling and piling and piling for entertainment's sake and not for the actual composition of the meal.
And one thing that I think is a positive is when chefs and owners are using different plates and platters, different colors, different shapes, different sizes. And I've seen this in a couple places. One place was Bartolino's. They just had white plates. Everything was on white plates, white plates. Well, they opened their new place out in West County, and they've got these beautiful plates and bowls, these kind of blue powder finish bowls
beautiful.
with this beautiful black rim, and it completely changes the look of what's being served in it. Places like a Car Burningly is extremely dedicated to this item has this plate, that item has it. And it really does make a difference. You wonder why this place is so much fun. A lot of it is in something as simple as that. We talked about Ivy. The owner throws her own pottery, makes her own plates, and it all adds up. It all makes a difference. It's those little subtleties that sometimes throw you over the top.
Yeah, and I think what places like that are showing is that you don't have to be obnoxious in order to make an impact. Something can be visually stunning and still able to be eaten.
Exactly.
What about you? What else is on your list?
Something, again, it's the first of the year here at Arch Eats Central, and I think what we noticed, and we're going to continue to notice, is changes in quality of life for restaurants, basically closing for extended periods around the first of the year. I've seen a whole lot more places close.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're closed for the next week or two. So I think, next year, plan on a lot of restaurants being closed from January 1st to January 10th. And they're all closed. Maybe it's a time you want to take off too, because I'm just shocked at how many places that I looked at. I'm sorry, we're on break. So there's nothing wrong with that. So, I think the guests should take their break too at the same time.
I like it. Well, it's such a notoriously slow time of year that if a restaurant's going to take something when they're not going to lose that much money, they should take it while they can. It's a very difficult business. They deserve the break, especially after getting past the holidays.
You know what else is coming, whether you like it or not, is, in various forms, is AI in the form of chatbots. They've got AI for reservations and for menu planning and for controlling everything in the restaurant. But I think what's interesting is these kiosks, right, which are fairly common. But we talked about these little robots, which fascinate me. One called Play-Doh up at Kathy's Kitchen, which is basically a server.
Yes.
And it doesn't bust the tables, but it will transport.
Yes.
So it's kind of makes that whole self-bussing thing a little more tolerable. You don't have to walk it over to that bus tub. Just hand it to Play-Doh, and Play-Doh will take it back to the kitchen.
Do you have to tip Play-Doh like you have to tip everyone else at this point?
That's a good question. I don't know if Play-Doh puts their arm out.
Probably.
His or her arm out. But it's creating a more personalized dining experience. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think, again, especially with minimum wage going up and going up and going up, I think you're going to see more of these things. So like it or not, and I think it's kind of cool. Right now it's a novelty. Maybe it'll get to be old, but it hasn't yet for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I saw that Megan Fox movie, Subservience, and things can go awry very quickly.
Yes, that's true.
Let's hope the robots don't take over there. Well, one thing that we saw last year that I was actually a little bit surprised, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of this in this year if I can kind of predict the future. I think we're going to see the return of tasting menus. This is a really interesting development because during the pandemic, when we were in the throes of all of that, everyone was writing the obituary of fine dining. Fine dining is dead. We will never dine like this again. We'll never sit in a restaurant ever again. And we did see the rise of so many fast casual concepts, brew pubs, things of that sort. But we have seen a lot of really exciting restaurants open up that are in that tasting menu vein. I'm thinking of Nick Bognar's place Pavilion, which opened up inside of Sato. That's a 6-seater fine dining experience, chef's tasting. We have another sushi restaurant, Nobu's in the Loop.
Right.
That
I'm glad
also,
you mentioned that.
yes, that's an excellent restaurant, a tasting menu place too. Mainlander, you want to talk about one of the hottest tickets in town. Mainlander continues to be this innovative, wonderful restaurant that will soon be in a newly expanded location in the Central West End. They've shown that the tasting menu can be modern and thrilling. Lineage, Ty Davis's place that we talked about, he's still working out exactly what the restaurant's going to look like, but he's teased that it will be more of a tasting menu format. And then we have Robin Restaurant, which is going to open in the former Benevolent King. That is going to be more of a tasting menu, prefix menu. So I'm excited to see us
and
dine this way again.
What I didn't like about those is some of them were overwrought.
Yes.
Here, we're going to give you 14 courses,
Exactly.
and it's going to be $300, and you're going to be here for 3.5 hours. That appealed to me in no way. Now, Robin, for instance, I know he's doing a 4-course menu, I think for $75.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sweet spot. That's where you need to be. I'm not a tasting menu guy per se, but 3 to 4 courses is my sweet spot. I think they're on the mark at that number.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun way to dine if you want to sample a lot of different things, really get the chef's point of view on things. I'm excited to see it. Another thing that I'm noticing at places, and this is something that we saw ramp up last year, we talk about dry January. It is no longer dry January. People are looking past alcohol in their beverages. They want thoughtful mocktails. They want, as we talked about, maybe CBD or cannabis infused. I think we're going to continue to see a lot of whether it's no or low ABV cocktails. Nodo has been doing a lot of them, and their sister concept, Bormio. Good Company does a lot of them, and their sister concept, Opry. We are seeing these on really exciting menus around town, and I'm here for it.
And the other thing that I'm noticing there too is they're extending the flight concept.
Yes.
Here's a flight of 3 mocktails. Here's a flight of 3 CBD drinks.
Yes.
Kind of interesting. It's even gone that far. I don't think that's a bad thing either.
It's not. And I think one of the things that's given rise to it is we've really seen spirits companies have some success with non-alcohol spirits. There are decent substitutes for gin. There are decent substitutes for tequila. So you can make an NA Paloma. You can make an NA Martini. You can still get all the botanicals and interesting flavors.
Yes.
So that's been a really fun development. What Kendall from Noto and Bormio was telling me is they're seeing people not choose this as an either or. Maybe they'll start out with a cocktail that has alcohol in it, and then maybe for their second drink, they'll switch to something NA. And it's a way for them to kind of extend the experience, sample more flavors. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I think that mixing and matching is what is giving it its staying power.
It's smart and it's safe.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I've noticed in the last couple months of 2024, this trend toward what I'll call fancy frozen desserts.
Oh, yes.
You know, we talked about bingsu, and bingsu is this Korean shaved ice that's got some milk product in it, and it's got all these fun fruits on top.
It's light as air. It's so lovely.
And it's pretty healthy for you. You know, it's not that caloric. There's a place called Sweet Tapioca Cafe out west that specializes in bingsu. Spoonful Dessert Cafe does as well. Cafe Ganadara. And even a place called Domo that just opened. They have this custom blended ice cream contraption that's really cool. That's serving, it's kind of a cross between soft serve and hard pack. And they have this gizmo that blends it all together with whatever add-ins you want to put in there. very cool concept, very trendy and different and one of a kind for St. Louis. Vampire Penguin is coming. I'm not familiar
Oh,
with
I
that.
know nothing about this.
What is Vampire Penguin is a chain, and they make a dessert that has a consistency between kind of a snow cone and ice cream, and it feels like kind of real snow. It's similar to bingsu. It's a national chain, and they've got fun ingredients, and again, 70 to 80 calories per serving, so it's quote healthy for you, if you will. It's not super filling, so that's really nice for a dessert. Some of the desserts are gluten-free and dairy-free there. So again, this is coming this spring to the Central West End. This place called Jars, we've talked about them. This is out in Ladue. Jars, another chain that their claim to fame is they've got these single-serving layered desserts.
Oh, that's fun.
And they've got custard in some, but they've also make them with soft serve.
Ooh.
So again, these little frozen fancy desserts. I just like all these different options. You don't just have to go and grab an ice cream cone from the local ice cream shop.
Or the snow cone shack, exactly. Right. Well, I'm going to give you 2 that I'm done with, and then I will end on a positive note. So how does that sound? The one that I am over, and I kind of joked about this earlier with tipping Play-Doh, I am very much over tipping
in general.
No, not at all. I promise. I waited tables for way too long to ever be a stingy tipper. I am a very generous tipper, and I tip at cafes, as you should. If someone's getting you your coffee, your muffin, of course. But I think there has been such pushback towards just someone flipping a screen and just having you tip 30% when you've had to get your own drinks, bus your own tables, do everything yourself. I think there's been enough pushback to that I really hope we see an end to that. I don't know where you weigh in on this. I think you've talked about this in the past too.
They wheel that screen around and it's asking for a 30% tip. I'm sorry, you've gone over
exactly.
The edge. And now what you're seeing, though, I just saw this the other night at Nixta. Ben Paremba has instituted a 20% mandatory service fee.
Sure.
And kind of, this is how we're going to take care of it. This is to make sure that the employees get a fair wage and that they receive benefits. So we're not going to give you the option. It's 20%. And I think that's a good thing. I'm fine with that.
I am too.
What I don't like is when they start nickel and diming for credit card fees and this and other things. And here's a 2% and here's a 1%. Just roll it into whatever your service charge is going to be and be done with it, whether it's 20 or 25%. And then it kind of takes the guilt and the pressure off the diner to tip for something that they feel may not deserve a tip.
It's like flying a budget airline where I've actually been on flights where you've had to pay for your seat. That's a bridge too far, I feel like.
No, exactly.
The other one that I'm over, this is a quickie, but I am so over those faux green selfie walls with the neon sign on them. Can we just please not do that anymore?
There are a lot.
Oh my God, they're everywhere. I feel like it's almost become standard. It's the new subway tile. This was the subway tile of 2024. Can we just please be done with that? But the one thing that I foresee for our future in 2025, I think there's a return to hospitality. Again, this kind of goes with that pushback against QR codes and, we're sitting down to tasting menus again and fine dining is not dead. I think there is such a desire to return to that personal touch and that human connection that we love about going out to eat. And I'm seeing a lot of restaurants put an emphasis on that. I'm very excited to see that.
And I think along with that is what is one of my rants, but it's going to become one of my raves, is what I'm calling high decibel dining. I think a lot of that is going by the wayside.
Yes.
I don't care what age you are. I think a lot of people said, enough. We want to have a conversation. And you're seeing a lot of places coming down the pike in that hospitality that are quiet. The new Napoli in Kirkwood, they've gone to special lengths to make sure it's quiet. The new Bartolino's that I talked about, all kinds of hidden sound abatement things going on in there to keep it quiet. So yeah, it's all in that same, let's dole out more hospitality.
Let's warm it up a little bit.
Well, you're ending with a positive. I might just end with some more rants, I think.
The rants are always so fun,
and
George.
I think, again, that I might be alone on this, but I think some of these short-form video content is getting to me. Some of
a
these
little absurd.
These 10-second reels, I'm sorry, that doesn't convince me. 10 seconds doesn't convince me that I should go to Joe Blow's restaurant and do this and do that. I like to see a little personality. I like to know a little bit about the place,
Sure.
a little bit about the chef, a little bit about the owner. Let's just extend this a little bit. But unfortunately, that's where we are with these short form videos.
I would agree with you. I like a little bit more information.
I would rather hear from an informed person for 30 seconds than someone that just has a smartphone in their hand. Here's another quickie. I stole this one from Dave Lowry. The overuse of Yes Chef.
Oh, yes.
It's gone too far. We see it on.
We've seen the bear way too many times.
Yes, we understand that's what happens in the kitchen, but it has gotten tiresome. And in 25, perhaps we can dial that back a little bit. All these good cooks are not chefs. We might just want to say, coming through, Bill, or excuse me, Ann. But, these are good cooks, but they're all not chefs. Dial that back a little bit for 2025. Let's end this talking about when people dine. I think Danny Meyer started this phrase a couple years ago. 6 p.m. is the new 8 p.m.
Yes.
I see that continuing. I'm doing the same thing. If you talk to any of these restaurant owners, the 5:30 and 6 o'clock reservations are booking up and the 8 o'clocks are not.
Yeah, it used to be that 7:30 was prime time. And now it seems that I'm with you. It seems like 6 o'clock, 5 p.m. I think a lot of people got in the habit. There's a lot of reasons for this. A lot of people got in the habit that they could not get into a restaurant at that time. So they had to kind of shift their thinking on things. I think a lot of families are going out to eat now and kids have earlier bedtime. So I'm with you. I'm seeing a lot of early dinners.
And I'm seeing lunch is the new dinner is what I'm being told is a lot of restaurants are booking up for lunch instead of dinner. And I thought, well, that's kind of different until somebody explained it to me. They said, it's cheaper at lunch. It's a time when people are working at different hours and there are no 8 to 5s anymore. That's one way that we can afford restaurants is dining in more of them at lunch when we need a midday break.
2025, lunch is the new dinner. I like this prediction.
There you go. So that's all for today. Best dishes. See you next time. Be sure to follow us and share with your friends. And we always provide links in the show notes for everything you heard about today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along on Instagram at St. Louis Mag. And feel free to give us a follow personally at George Mahey and Cheryl A. Bear.
If you loved what you heard, show us some love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're hungry for even more content, you can subscribe to our dining newsletters for the freshest coverage on the local restaurant and culinary scene.